In this video, I'll give you 15 tips on how to improve your resume for a design job. I have spent quite a few years going through a lot of resumes for UX design, art and animation domains. It pains me to tell you that more than 50% of the applications make the most basic mistakes and don't even get past the initial filtering, let alone even start the interview process. Hi folks, I'm Hemant Sharma. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing to my channel. In this platform, I guide and mentor designers to help them succeed in their careers. Alright, so let's get started with tips on how to write better resumes for a design job. Tip number 1. Tools are not skills. Using a software is also a kind of skill, but not the kind of skill companies look for. Software tools do not give a clear meaning of your design skills. Suppose you mention Figma and give it 4 stars. What all you can accomplish with Figma is not very clear. Are you saying you are good at wireframe design, visual design, creating design systems, developer handoff, collaborative work? It doesn't give a clear information of your skills. Instead, mention wireframe design, UI design, prototyping. What software you use to express those skills are secondary. You can learn a software in a couple of days. Skills take time and experience to learn. To understand the difference between skills and tools, check out my other video I have linked in the description. Tip number 2. Meaningful objectives. Objectives section can be one of the most effective summaries of your profile as a whole. I'd suggest you avoid generic and cliche ones like I'd like to best utilize my skills professionally and benefit the company and all that. Put up something that is more focused. Try to cover your career goals, your major interest under the field of design, and how you can be an asset to the company you're applying for. In short, your objective section should provide a justification to the company as to why they should hire you. Tip number 3. Link a portfolio. You won't believe, but a lot of people forget to link their portfolios in their resumes. When you're applying for a job, ignoring a huge opportunity to showcase what you've worked on doesn't make sense. Double check and ensure you have linked your portfolio. One additional tip is to mention the actual link instead of a descriptive word like my portfolio. Simply because some hiring tools don't enable link clicking. In such cases, for people looking at your resume, it is possible to manually read and type the actual URL of your portfolio or website, something like behance.com/your username or yourwebsite.com. Tip number 4. Apply for multiple jobs. If you're a beginner or an intermediate designer, my advice to you is that you should put your hands into all aspects of UX design. Research, prototyping, wireframing, visual design, UX writing, everything. This will get you good learning in the long run, and when you reach a senior position later in your career, you will be able to make use of all those skills to possibly change the direction of companies and products in a better way. It is similar to learning many subjects during early schooling and narrowing down to a few subjects during your college or major studies in later years. I have seen a lot of people narrow down their options way too early in their career. This may hinder you quite a lot, especially when you get into a senior position later in your career. Tip number 5. Different profiles. If you plan to follow my previous tip, do consider creating different versions of your resume for different profiles. Applying to a company who is looking for a UX researcher with your resume and portfolio screaming all about your UX wireframes and visual design mockups will not help that much. Consider creating one resume and portfolio for UX research job, one for visual design job, etc. Of course, narrow down your search or options. Don't dilute so much that you don't have a long-term focus. Pick 2 to 3 subdomains that you like to get good at in the long run and prepare accordingly. Tip number 6. Beautification is not everything. Looking at a meaningful resume is more useful and good use of time for a hiring manager than looking at a beautiful resume that has less useful information in it. Always keep in mind, your resume should reflect your personality. It is fair to add a bit of that as part of visually designing it or making it look appealing. But prioritize the information, segregation of information, and hierarchy of information in it way more than making it look beautiful. The first time a hiring manager looks at a resume, they don't look at how beautiful your resume is. They scan for information. They scan through the keywords that stand out. They scan through the links to portfolios, brands you've worked for, subdomains of design you've touched. Never forget, the primary purpose of your resume is to make the hiring manager pick up the phone and give you a call. If that happens, your resume's purpose is fulfilled. Tip number 7. Provide proofs. Provide proofs of work you've done, if possible with live links that one can open and check. If you don't have live links, provide concise bullet points of what your specific role and responsibility was for every project. Provide numbers that help understand the impact your work did in the projects you've listed. Specifically mention what part of a project you owned or worked on. For example, if you've worked only on UI design for a project, not explicitly calling that out might mislead the interviewer to think that you alone were responsible for the entire project end to end, which is false information. Tip number 8, be honest. There are a lot of situations where I have found people claiming to have worked on certain projects, but when I dig deeper, I discover they actually have worked only on 20% of it. 80% of what's in the project or the portfolio item has been ripped off from the internet. Plagiarism is a very dangerous thing. In fact, during certain interviews, I've found candidates claiming that the artwork they've created in their portfolios are theirs, to only later find out that it was a 100% redo of someone else's illustration or a copy-paste from an internet source I found. Remember, we all have access to the same internet search, and if you can search and pick it up, companies can too. Tip number 9, stick to one page. Do not make the resume more than a page. List a maximum of 3 projects that you think are your best output. I iterate again, the objective of your resume is to make the recruiter or hiring manager pick up the phone and give you a call. You have portfolio, phone screening, further rounds of interview to exhibit all the strengths you have. Fun fact, my first resume was 7 pages long. It got me the job, but don't do that. Recruiters do not have the patience to read a resume that extends more than 2 pages. Decide what image you want to portray with minimum but strong information about you in the first and only page of your resume. Actually, going through this mindset will also make you evaluate every project, achievement, and skill you have and make you list the most important ones, make you be very critical about yourself, bringing out the best of your work or information into your resume. Tip number 10, accessibility. Check the contrast, hue and saturation of the colors, emphasis of bullet points, headings, descriptions, length of the descriptions, etc. so that it is extremely easy for a recruiter to understand you and your work. Remember, your resume is the first door for a recruiter to know your potential, not your capabilities. Portfolio showcases your capabilities. Consider some of the basic UI and visual design principles like hierarchy, value, proximity, layout, etc. when you visually design your resume. You want to steer the hiring manager's gaze to what you want them to see. Tip number 11, communication. For a designer, one of the most important and less talked about skills is communication. Don't forget to put in your ability to convince, describe, ideate, and communicate your design or art ideas to the stakeholders or teams. Ensure you have a soft skills section that lists a couple of bullet points about this topic. How well you understand project requirements and how well you communicate your thoughts as a designer is extremely crucial. With both your information input and output very strong, you have a higher chance of catching a recruiter's attention. Consider exhibiting this skill as part of describing your responsibilities of projects you have listed. Tip number 12, choose the right words. When you put down information, ensure you don't use adjectives to describe how good your work is. Don't mention, "I designed the next generation icons." Let the hiring manager or the company assess if it is really next generation after looking at the portfolio item. You mentioning it yourself may tell the company you don't know any better or your understanding of the work output is limited. Let your portfolio speak for itself, not your words in your resume. Instead of adjectives, try to put in some measurable data. Specify how after you've redesigned a project, the viewership increased by X percentage. That's still a way to appreciate yourself, but objectively. Tip number 13, file size. Don't forget to optimize your resume to take up less file size. Understand that the recruiters go through hundreds of resumes every day. A delay in your resume is loading and you might miss the bus. Keep it vector, keep it sharp, keep it crisp, even print friendly. Tip number 14, spell check. One of the most basic mistakes one can make is to have spelling errors. I have seen resumes with spelling mistakes in software names, skills listed, and responsibilities described. When you're applying for a job that is potentially life-changing, the least you can do is double-check spellings, especially in the first opportunity of reach, the resume. Spelling mistakes may come across as carelessness towards the opportunity. Tip number 15, text version. It is always a good idea to have a text-only version of your resume handy. Not all platforms you apply through allow you to attach a fancy PDF file. Having a text-only or print-friendly resume version will prove to be very useful at times in saving your time and enabling you to reach the company or recruiter faster. I have created a simple giveaway resume template for designers, adhering to a lot of previous points I mentioned. You can get the template by accessing the link in the description. This template is created in Figma and the base structure of it is styled and ready to fill in data and customize some aspects as per your needs. Once you download it, feel free to further enhance it according to your needs. But even if you don't enhance the structure any further, it is designed to make a quality impact. Observe the way information is communicated in every aspect of this resume template and keep the essence intact. Hopefully that helps. Do change the information to reflect your skills, experiences, and responsibilities. Okay, those were some of the tips I could recollect and prioritize first. There are many more tips, but I'll plan for another video in the future. If you want to see that, do leave a comment below. Don't forget to share other tips that you might have based on your experiences of recruiting or applying for design jobs. If you have any questions, do reach out to me through social media. Do subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, stay creative, and I'll see you in the next one.